welcome to Tuesday's Q&As here at Flory Models. As you can see, no Steve today. Steve's had a far better offer, so he's off at his photo shoot, so can't blame him really. I think I'd rather be at a photo shoot and stay here with me. So you've basically just got me today. If I've got any questions that are particularly Steve related, what we'll do, we'll roll them over till next week, and then Steve can answer them directly, okay? But I'll try and make my way of muddling through the best. Thank you for all the kind comments on the Osprey. It is going to be a two-parter. We speak about it on today's vlog, and to be honest, what I'll do is I'll link it down below here if you can see this, because I have done a full vlog today because we're a little bit quieter because I'm not doing any proper filming. Okay, so that is down, but it's definitely going to be a two-parter purely because I wanted to explain in depth how I did this weathering technique, and trust me, it's the easiest one you could ever do. It's the wash and a bit of enamel paint. That is it. But the wash sticks with the clay wash, if you like. With the enamel paint, it makes more like a filter effect, so you can do little panels and joining and streaking and various things with it, but you need both to work together. The downside to it is though, it's a bit of a one-way trip, but it builds up. It's like dry brushing. It takes time to come through and to build up and everything else like that, so you've got plenty of opportunities to save it, wipe it away or whenever when it's still relatively wet. But generally very happy with that one. Nice to have that one done and finished, and it will look great in the display cabinet. As I said, I just want one in 1/32 now because it would look absolutely stunning. Anyway, got your questions down here. As I say, any tricky ones I'll pass on to Steve, okay? But we should be okay for the minute. So, first question up, we've got Andy. Andy says, hi Phil, and the one who's missing today, Steve. New to the forum, I've already spent many hours watching your videos. And after improving my modelling. Here's my question. I'm in the middle of the Tamiya Chieftain Mark V, getting to step 16, making the antenna. It tells you to, quote, heat one runner and then melt and stretch it in opposite ways, holding it for 15 seconds, cool it down, cut it to 2 pieces long, and all the rest of it. Okay, now the part from the port instructions. Is this plastic toxic if heated with the fumes and likely to look pants? Any tips, tricks for antennas for looking good instead of melting plastic? P.S. Loving the site and the forum, and I'm already an addict. Okay, right, to be honest, this is very much the 1970s where exactly that kit comes from. I don't think they've ever updated it. From a health point of view, it's a small thing, it's like blowing out a candle. Yes, it is technically going to release a toxin because it is oil-based sprue, but basically you heat it up and you pull it, and then it is just that thing. It's a bit like stretching glass. It's very malleable, and as soon as it dries, it goes rock hard again, back to its solid state. So the idea used to be is making any type of rigging and aerials and all the rest of it, you used to just grab it, pull it out, and do it like that. Now, if you're talking like a tank aerial and you've just got one end of it, the easiest thing I do is I pinch hairs from a nylon broom, okay? So literally, I'll just go out and find a hand broom or something else like that. They have very thin nylon fibers, and to be honest, I think we've done it with all of our tanks because I don't bother with anything of messing around with that. It's flexible, you can flick it, you can knock it, it's not gonna come off because it just bends like the real thing. Great for scale effect, and if it's black you don't have to worry about. If it's green, like I've got one out there at the moment, gets a haircut every now and again, just paint it and you're good to go. Saves a lot of messing around. But in the old days it used to be the thing, stretch sprue and doing it. But I know guys who've done ship rigging and everything in with stretch sprue. It's quite an art form to it to get it right. It's one of those things, you sort of heat it up, it starts to sort of bend in the middle, okay, and then you yank and you just keep going as far as you can with it, okay, and then let one side drop, hang, cut top and bottom, and away you go. I think we've even covered it here. We've done it here in the past anyway. Haven't done it for quite a while because it's a bit old school. If you're talking aerials like on aircraft and things like that, antennas, then if it's two ends, I use elastic. Put one on one end, one on the other, and then cut. Have a look at the Halifax bomb. That's the last time I used it with that. That's far much easier than doing the old stretch sprue technique with that, because the thing is it tends to sag a little bit as well over time. So from that health point of view, it's such a small amount, I think you'd be okay, but you could always do it outside or do it with your extractor running. You shouldn't really have a problem with it. But it is the thing, the kit's from the 70s. The instructions, I would say, are from the 70s as well with that one. Okay, so Chris says, hi Paul. Who's Paul? I think he means Phil. And all the Florites. Have you seen the 1-500 Bandai Spaceship Yamamoto and the great sets? If so, have you thought of doing one of these super builds with LEDs? Yes, I have seen them. Very interesting stuff. It's from the, the comic books and all the rest of it. If you haven't seen it before, it's basically the Yamamoto ship with its hull as normal, and then at the back end it's got an F-16 engine stuck on the back of it, and it's got some various bits that hang off the bottom and everything else to make it more space-like. But for all intents and purposes, it's the Yamamoto ship. They do other versions of it as well in different ship states and all the rest of it, and I think they do different scales. I think they actually do something like a 1 to 350 version of it, and then they actually do like a 1 to 500 like you're talking about. They do it in different scales. They do a big one as well. I don't know if that's a limited edition, but I have seen huge ones done as well, like one look like a 1 to 200 scale, but they could be scratched up. I need to put a link up there anyway. Have I thought about it? Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things, I suppose, a bit of sci-fi, a bit of shit modelling all in one. It's nothing that I've suddenly thought, oh, I've got to build one of those, if I'm honest. But I've seen guys do them. As I say, they're nothing new. They've been around for a few years now. You see them a lot at the shows and things like that, and they always catches your eye because it's different, and most of them have them on some type of acrylic stand, so you can have a look underneath them, because there's a lot of aerials and things like that off the bottom, which would be technically the lower hull. But yeah, something definitely different. Would I rush out to do one? Probably got other products I want to do in the projects in the first place, but you know, never say never. Second question: what and where to get the lock type you were using for the Mr. Colour leveling thinner bottles, as I haven't seen to come up with them. You mean these ones? Have I got the other camera running today? I think I have. Which camera would you like? Have we got all the cameras on? If I just move that. You mean these types, which is tipping it out all over the desk. See, look, now I'm going to lose my thing. Remember guys, if you ever spill, there you go, quick tip for you. Lacquer thinners, because obviously it eats your cutting mat, if you remember. So if you tap it, you don't have any problem. If you wipe it, I would have just destroyed all the markings off your board. Okay, but yes, look, that's just simple. This is the pack of them. Comes in a pack of 3. Yeah, it is 3. And it's designed for the 400 and the 250 bottle size at the top. But this is these, you see. So what it has actually got is a little cross slot in there. You've got a nozzle top and bottom so the air can flow through, so it doesn't go blub blub blub. Okay, and that is basically it. Simple. They come as a packet replacement. The part number is G33-30. I don't know if there's any other bits on there if you can read it off. But it's basically, they lock as well. So instead of having to unscrew them, you can just do it like this. And the other great thing is if you do knock it over, you don't get much come out. Alright, so you can do it. But it's just literally open or close on there, just like that. I don't know if you can make out anything on there. Looks like the product number is G3303. eBay, I'm just trying to think who does them these days. Is it eModels? Maybe eModels. Go and have a look at the eModels site or their eBay shop, because eModels do a lot of the old GCI stuff now, of all the sort of Mr. Colour stuff and the bits and pieces. So it might be well worth having a look at theirs. But I have mine on the bottles like this, and it just makes things far easier, and it does save a lot of messing around. And apart from what I've just done then is spill, but look, it's dry. I haven't ripped me mat. I thought I was going to rip me mat for a second. Okay, so yeah, but cheap. I don't know, I think they're like less than £5, but they last you forever, because that, to be honest, is my second pack I've ever had in my life, because I just use those ones and they go. And I don't know what's happened to the old ones as well. I think they just get messy on the top and everything over time, and I just put a new one on to make it look nice. But yes, eModels for the UK, rest of the world, just eBay it, and I'm sure it'll come up with something on there. Okay, so Peter says, hi, I was looking at the gap on the intake on Steve's Typhoon. This is the one we were talking about last week and on Saturday's show, on the lip for the intake, okay, on the Q&A, or was it one of the daily shows? Yeah, it was the Q&A, and I think we did it on the Saturday's show. Do you ever use car body filler for huge seams like that, or is it just me? I've started using it for large filling jobs, and reshaping jobs with a degree of success, because it's cheap, it doesn't shrink, and it sets in 10 to 15 minutes. You can get a good finish with feather edges, really easy, and the most important thing for someone as heavy-handed as me is it's a lot softer than styrene, so you can block and sand the shape without taking too much out of the profile of the kit. The only downside, as far as is the smell and the build up a bit of heat when it cures. So there's several thin layers to minimise the chance of heat warping the plastics. The filler I've been experimenting with is Isopon 38 Easy Sand Peat. Yeah, again, two things I'm not so keen with car filler. One is the smell from it, because I tell you what, it's one of those real psychological things, but I can smell it now. You've spoken about it, and I hadn't pre-read your question. So, but I can actually smell that smell of Bondo filler has. And that, I can do it now. I can smell it now. It's got nothing to do with thinners. It's one of those my childhood memories. Trust me. But yeah. So from that point of view, would be the smell, because it pretty stinks. And when you're in a small little place like this, it's going to hum a bit. The other trouble is heat, because it is a chemical reaction. Because don't forget, this type of Bondos, they are 2-pack technically. So one is the product, one is a hardener or a setting agent or an activator. So you're causing a chemical reaction. My worry would be is physically melting the plastic, because it's designed for car filler and stuff like that. Yeah. The other thing as well is that we've had this before where guys have said about, oh, I can buy a big tube of this stuff and it's only like £5 because it's industrial. The trouble is though, it goes off. So as soon as you break the seal on these things, it's deteriorating. So you're never going to use the whole tube, even if you could. And then what happens is, and I've had it happen to me because in previous things doing commercial work and custom work and stuff like that, I've used stuff like this, is that you go to use it and it's rock hard because you haven't used it for a couple of months. You come back to it and it's gone off. So that big thing you thought was cheap technically isn't, okay, because you can't use it. That's my only thing to it as well. But apart from that, obviously, like all industrial products, if you can make up a very small quantity of it and then just mix it together and go off and use it, then absolutely. The only thing is that hobby products are designed for hobby type work. So it's designed for small files, sanders, things like that. That's why it comes in little tubes, tiny bit on there, you go for it. If you're needing the bit to fill a whacking great area, then obviously you wouldn't use a hobby one, you'd use an industrial one, purely because it's big, going to cost a fortune, tubes of it. So if you're working on something like, I don't know, a 1 to 200 scale ship and you want to do a big filler job on it, obviously that's going to be tubes of filler to do it. You're probably better off going down your route and getting a commercial one, you know, some type of 2-pack and, you know, an activator, mixing it up and do it. It's a bit like the old 5-minute epoxy resin trick, which to be honest is what I used on the nose of this guy. So I came in here and this entire front end, Steve's went very nicely, mine not so. Okay, so when I came in with this, I thought, oh, I cannot really be bothered to fill and do this normally because it was quite a big job putting all of this on. So actually what I did was I used a standard 5-minute epoxy, which people will tell you can't use it because you can't sand it because it's too soft and all the rest of it. If you're careful with it, you can. And this is the stuff that I got. Okay, which is this one here, which is Unibond. Okay, as you can see down there, let me just switch that even closer. So that's the Unibond one, and as I say, it's a 2-part one, so you've got 2 tubes down here, it comes to one, and away you go, and it's a 5-minute one. It basically says it's ideal for ABS, PVC, polyurethane, polycarbonate, acrylic, and fiberglass. The only thing is with this stuff, as I said, it never dries completely rock hard. You're always going to have a thing where it's a little bit soft or a little bit rubbery. The other trouble with it as well, if you're using things like epoxies, is the physical grip it's got on the surface of the model. And because plastic models and styrene tend to be very slippery, that it can peel off of it. Okay, so I had to be very careful on the underside of this because it was the photo etch. I needed to blend all that in as well because mine was just awful. So what I actually ended up doing was epoxying everything around the front end, let it set, and it took a lot longer than 5 minutes, trust me, it took a couple of days, but when it had, I then went along and sanded it. And to be honest, I even used the belt sander on it to speed things up because it's quite chunky, and just went in there, tore the hell out of it, and we sanded it in now and absolutely fine, no problem at all with it. But like everything, sometimes big jobs, big products, whack it in. So there's no right or wrong on that one though, Peter. Okay, so Jeff says, hi Phil, I'm building Airfix's excellent 148 scale Mark 1 Spitfire. At the moment the canopy looks crystal clear. I'm wondering, do you think that dipping canopies into clear, parts into clear or future, etc. will benefit the look of newer tooled models? Thanks, Jeff. Sorry, meant to put this in the Tuesday one, blah blah, it's alright, no problem, Jeff. Yeah, these chairs, got to get new chairs. I'm going to order new chairs. I don't care what they cost, but the creaking on this. Anyway, right. I'm not the biggest fan of dipping canopies. Now, there's reasons when you would, and there's reasons why you shouldn't. Okay, the reasons why you would, if you've got a clarity issue, i.e. it looks terrible, and you want it to look a little bit cleaner, and that way it will look thinner and more in scale, then perhaps you want to dip your canopy. But masking them is always going to be a problem, because if you don't let it completely cure, and I mean give it a couple of weeks to go off, what can happen is you put masking tape over it, and then the glue from the masking tape will adhere to the actual the dipping agent, the clear, say you put it in, and it can then either tarnish that finish or physically peel off. Okay, and we have had problems with this guy is another classic example of it, the actual Goozy stuff. I've played with it a little bit because, as I say, I don't like to go around and make huge things about it, but we've had a play with it, and sometimes it peels, sometimes it doesn't. It tends to be all or nothing with this stuff, and that's very similar to all the dipping agents. If you scratch it, it will peel. You can get your nail under it and lift it off in one. It's like an eggshell effect. Okay, it's like peeling a boiled egg. Okay, so you want to be a little bit careful with it. But the thing is, like all these things, are you making work you don't need to do? So sometimes I will a lot more polish. I will literally grab one of our polishers and I will polish the canopy, then it's done. That way I don't have to worry about peeling or glue marks and anything else like that. I know it's absolutely fine. Your other option, of course, and this is what we spoke about with the airliners, and we've done other things like it, is that if you're going for a total gloss finish afterwards, you could physically 2-pack lacquer the clear part. Okay, or just go right over it afterwards. So like the F104, the Starfighter, if you remember, when we were using the shine enhancer in testing to see what it's like, I actually went right over the clear part with it afterwards. Okay, so this is your other option as well, is that you could leave it, see how it looks when the model's completed, and then hand paint something like this over your clear part, okay, up to the framing and everything. Very reminiscent to how we did the glass work on the top here to do the tinting, and do it afterwards. So don't always think you have to go in there and do it and then you've got the problems because you need to scribe around it for masking and all things like that. You could do it physically after it's finished, because this had a flat coat, it was weathered, and if you remember on this one, or you're going to see it, unmasked it, and then this one to do the smoked visors over the top, we actually did it by hand once it was finished. It was one of the last jobs on with this one. So there is different ways for doing it, but I'm a great believer in don't make work for yourself. So if you look at it and you think it doesn't need it, let's face it, Hobby Boss kits are brilliant for it. Trumpeter are very good, very clear parts. So I wouldn't even contemplate dipping them in the first place unless they needed it. Okay, so there we go. Right, Kim says, hi Phil and Steve, just love the site. My wife doesn't, sounds about right. It's taking my modelling up to a new level, thank you. Okay, my question is, I can't find the video where Phil talks about the AK primer and microfiller. So what are your opinions and thoughts about it? I've given up on the Vallejo primer. Right, now again, there's a good reason for this. And that is purely because, he says, looking for his grey one. Where's my grey one? Got the white one here, but where's my grey? Did I have grey? I thought it was that black and thingy. Okay, oh, it is grey. Sorry, I thought it was white. As you can hear, they've got the obligatory nuts and bolts in them. Okay, so this is the ones we are talking about. These are the microfillers, okay, which I bought, I don't know, about a couple of months ago now. Now I have been using them. As you can see, they're both opened, and the grey one's actually going to be quite a long way down now. Yeah, it's probably down to the label now. The black, yeah, a little bit as well. Now I have been using, whilst dropping them, both of these for the last couple of weeks. Now the reason I haven't done a review on it and anything yet, I want to find all the answers to all the questions you guys are going to have. So I'm using it pretty much on everything at the moment just to work out, is it any good? Because obviously I do get a little bit of flack now, because like everything, new product comes along and it's the best on the market at that time, and I tell everyone to go out and buy it. So it seems 2 weeks later there's another product out on the market, and then I go and say, oh, go out and buy it. Okay, and before you know it, everyone's saying, but you said. So I'm not mentioning anything on that yet until I've literally fully tested it, had a go at it and all the rest of it. If I'm honest, you could go out at the moment and save yourself a fortune and go down the other route, because it is extremely similar to something like a Mr. Surface 1200 with thinner, and do it that way. Because that is all it literally is. It's not giving me anything better, but on the other hand though, it's not giving me anything worse. So for instance, these guys down here, which if you've been watching this week, you would have seen we did the photo etch flaps. These will definitely have a coat of this because the polyurethanes in that will bubble up off of this. So what I would have to do normally is use a Tamiya neat to give a dust coat, then come over the top. But I will be trying it with some micro. I'll probably do it with the grey right the way over this just to see how it works on metal, you know, photo etch parts, things like that. Because to be honest, it's the only thing I haven't tried it with yet. Everything else works absolutely fine, but it's no better than if you was to thin down Mr. Surfacer or the Tamiya stuff or anything else like that. It is what it is. It's basically a hot product. It's a lacquer based primer. But the thing is, I don't know actually if it says down there, but it's a microfiller. And when we say microfiller primer, it's more akin to spraying milk than perhaps one of the polyurethane or the latex based primers. So like Stynylrez is a polyurethane based one which is sandable, okay, but the thing is with that there's problems as well because I've got bottles I can't use anymore. I've got 3 bottles of Stynylrez down there which are going to go in the bin, which have basically been used once. It goes very thick, goes like glue, not very happy with it at all. This stuff at the moment is working very well, but it doesn't have a filler capability. So for instance, if you were coming around and you were doing a job like on the Dolphin down here, which is going to need it this week because Steve's done his already. I had a photo from him saying, look, I've done it. But I've got to take care of this and re-rivet and do all this detail up here because I had a bit of trouble fitting all of this together. You can see I've got a nasty little gap in there. In fact, that's a really nasty little gap. I think that's super glue gone off down in there. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to get in here, sand all this properly, rescribe, re-rivet, re-panel line, okay, and then it's going to have a coat of primer to see exactly what we've got. The thing is though, if you were using something like a Stynylrez, little ones down here, perhaps in this top join and things like that, you wouldn't worry about it because I know full well it would fill it. And we'd have no trouble with that at all. But the trouble is though, with something like this, these microfillers, it's not actually going to have any physical capability of filling a gap, not unless you put it on really thick, okay, and then it's going to look horrible. This one is more designed for saying, okay, it's a primer for painting. It's not a primer as in getting rid of those small little imperfections. It's not a primer that's going to self-level and smooth out your work for you. It's more of a finishing primer, if you like. It's more akin to spraying something like a normal acrylic paint down than a traditional fixing it primer like Stynylrez and Vallejo stuff and various bits and pieces. Okay, Peter says, hi Phil, would you approach black gloss work on the Rebel Hawk differently now? I know you use 2-pack lacquer gloss, but would you suggest if you can get it or didn't want to use it, would a Halford's rattle can do the job, or would other products? What other products would you recommend? Also, would you polish the paint more like you did on the Dreamliner? And use self-leveling thinners. Right, okay, so the big thing is now the 2-pack glossy stuff, funny enough, it's unopened before anyone says, and it's just under my desk because I haven't done it yet. This is that nipper stuff, okay? The thing with this is just the hardener. There's a bigger one down there for it. It will make anything look glossy. And when I say anything, I mean absolutely anything. So it doesn't matter if it's rough as hell to start with. You could go over a flat coat with this and it will come out like glass. This is it. The trouble with this is an industrial product. I like the car filler we were saying. It's not nice. I would only use it limitedly in small quantities as well. Full respirator with the exhaust all running and extractors all on and everything, because obviously it's toxic. But boy does it work. This stuff will make anything look like a mirror. No orange peeling, no cracking, no problems at all, and it's drying half an hour for handling purposes, okay? 24 hours, this stuff's like nails. It's just like diamonds. You can't even scratch the stuff. I've got the airliner over there. It's absolutely fantastic. It's next to my Hawk. Both of them look lovely in it, and you can go right over clear parts with it. This type of thing though is an industrial product. The hobby doesn't have anything like this because it's too much of a chemical. It's designed for industrial uses and everything else. But as I said, it does work exceptionally well. My recommendation though is they say a 2-to-1 ratio. I prefer to do a 1-to-1 ratio and then another third. So it's in thirds, if you like, of a self-leveling thinner, a lacquer-based thinner. You could use a commercial lacquer thinner as well, but that is my ratio for it. So it's a third of this, a third self-leveling thinners and a third hardener down into it, and you are good to go. The thing with this stuff is it is so thick that when we were doing the gun, for instance, where that is even these days, I've gone somewhere. But when we did the blaster, that was a classic example. All of those tiny little holes in it. If we tried to fill it with microfiller, it wouldn't have touched it, and we would have had to give it lots of very heavy, thick coats that would take a long, long time to dry of things like styrene res or your traditional thicker fillers, your polyurethanes. Coat of this. 10 minutes later, it's like nails, and I sprayed straight over it, and that's how we managed to do a 1-day build. Without this stuff, we couldn't have done the 1-day build because I couldn't have carried on with all those holes in it because it just looked like an aero bar. Okay, but this stuff did the job exceptionally well. Okay, but it's expensive. This is 80 quid for the big one, which is down here. Let me get the big one as well. Oh, that's the big one. All right, so this is 80 quid for this one, for both the sets together. I think it's 75 quid, 5 quid delivery. But as I say, it is good, and it is my lacquer of choice. So if I'm ever going to be doing anything that is glossy or like that, that is my go-to. Because the thing is, what you can do with it, you can paint it in whatever you like. It doesn't matter. So you could do it in flat blues all over it for the Dreamliner, flat white, coat of that, it's like a mirror. Okay, and you don't have to worry about all the orange peels and all that stuff and problems and everything else. So that is my point to it. So recommending other products is very difficult. You've got, these are the two newest ones on the market. This one here, which is the Goozy stuff, the shine enhancer. Okay, I'm not gonna say too much, but I am in talks actually with AK at the moment over this said product because I don't think they're very happy that I didn't have a great result with it on that one. So I wouldn't use it for glossing. This isn't going to be able to give you what we've got with that stuff. This is what it is. It's a hobby, small item. This, I think if you was to hand paint it and take forever, you could probably do it like glass eventually, but that's 10 minutes work. This is days worth of work to do it. But this stuff's very nice, but I don't think this is any better than anything else on the market. It works great for metallics, don't get me wrong. If you're talking over a metallic finish, this is the number one on the market. I prefer it over the other stuff, which would be my next gloss of choice after them all, which is the Model Master Metallizer Sealer. These two are the best for dealing anything over a metal finish because what it'll do is not sufficiently change the look of it. It's still got the luster, it's still got the metallic look to it. It has that sort of metal look. Okay, if you cover it in clear, anything else gloss, it's just going to lose it. It will just go dull. But these two tend to hold it very well, and this one is definitely better. But for gloss work, I think that's the way to go, to get a 2-pack one. And don't forget, there's other options you can do. You can get a gloss touch-up stick, for instance, put your thinners through that, use that, it'd be absolutely fantastic. £5 for quite a big touch-up stick. For a car, that's enough to do a model with it. So you could do something else like that. But say it's all very up in the air with those types of things. Okay, Andrew Blake says, quick question, Phil. Apologise if you've already answered this one, but after seeing your, just make sure you can see us, after seeing you use your belt sander on the resin, I have a question. I thought the resin dust was really horrible for you. I know you have your awesome extractor, but perhaps I'm mistaken in how bad resin dust is. I've always shaved my resin with a new blade rather than sand it. Am I being overcautious? Keep up the good work. Looking forward to the Japan summer build. Absolutely. Right, the thing is with resin, you have to remember, it's like fiberglass. It's fibrous. So for instance, when I sand it, to be honest, I haven't done any sanding with it for a while to show you, but when you open up the hoover to get rid of it, for instance, I wear a mask, literally, because when you tip it out, it comes out of that hoover, which has got this big filter system inside it that stops all the nasties coming back out and just blowing around your room. But when you obviously tip it out, it comes out like clouds of it. But the biggest thing you notice with that is, if you put them in your hand, it looks like hairs. And this is the trouble with fiberglass, with asbestos, and with resin. Okay, it's very fibrous. Those fibers get into your lungs, and that's what does the damage. It's not so much the dust even, it's the fibrous nature of the dust. Okay, so what can happen is it basically strips the lining out of your lungs. It could cause horrible diseases, you know, and various, you know, respiratory problems. You don't want to risk it. At the end of the day, this is a hobby. It's supposed to be a bit of fun. I do this almost 7 days a week these days. Okay, so I'm always playing with resin probably every other day. I'm playing with this, that, and the other. And this year I have invested a lot of money into bigger tools as well. So that's why we've got a belt sander now. That's why we've got the drill press, we've got the scroll saw and everything else. The whole point of it is I can show you something here, go over there, do it industrially, to like taking off the blocks of the resin and all the rest of it. Usually I'd sit here sawing away at it, breathing it in, all the rest of it. Now I've got the new Super Hoover down there, which basically is what it is. Okay, but also I've got extraction ports mounted on all the equipment, with the exception of the pillar drill. That's why I held it in my hand doing it. But the others got them built-in extraction. So all the nasties, you can literally watch it. It just all goes in to the machine and it gets rid of it, which is your safest option when doing it with it. Because honestly, it's supposed to be fun and a hobby, and the last thing you want to do is end up 20 years down the line and all of a sudden you've got some type of lung problem and they can trace it back to breathing in resin dust all your life. You know, I don't think it's as bad as I say, if you were using resin on industrial levels and in factories and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, I think just doing an engine block once a year or something else like that, I don't think it's necessarily going to harm you. But why take the risk? That's the point. You know there's a risk there. It's like smoking. You know there's a risk there, so why do you do it? You know, and sometimes you think, right, okay, not that I smoke. I'm an ex-smoker, by the way, so I'm even worse. But it used to be the thing where, you know, it's like, you know it's bad for you, so you don't bother with a respirator, for instance, when you're standing, yet you should. You know, me, I can't wear a respirator because you wouldn't hear what I'm saying. So what I tend to do is show you a bit here. I'll go over the machinery, cut the camera, go over there, blast it all on the machines, bring it back, and away we go. Job done. But it is bad for you, and you shouldn't really be breathing it in. Okay, Steve says, afternoon guys, loving your work as always. Phil, I think the mix of pro builds, the format that the 109 is in, is great. Each section could even have any more content, in my honest opinion. One day builds and vlogs, a refreshing, simple format. The reviews are spot on. I, for one, welcome the variety and the human approach. Thank you very much. I've been speaking about that in the vlog today as well. As I said, don't panic everyone if you haven't watched the vlog this morning. I basically cover in there is that my mindset on how I want this place to go, how I want us to be in 10 years time. We're always going to do the big super builds that we do. We always do one a year, but also like we do with the Osprey where we have standard builds and things like that, and we might go more in depth into a specific part of it. So we might think, like we've done this year for instance, I can go back and rattle them off exactly what we did different. So things like last year we did the Sherman for instance, it was a case of right, building the Sherman, pretty standard, went all over town because all we used was oils on it. The Bradley, all about the weathering really. Kit together, no problem at all. We showed exactly how it went, but it's all about the weathering. And then other things we've looked at all about the gloss work. So for instance, the airliner, it wasn't so much about really, you know, the kit, because let's face it, it's only two halves, but it was about aftermarket resin parts being fitted to it and put in, but then it was all about gloss work, okay, and various things. So I tend to pick a kit like this guy and it was all about the weathering afterwards, and that's it. But the big super builds are going to be more in depth, and I'm always going to have a super build on the go. So, you know, like you see down here with the flaps this week, then later on this week hopefully I'll do the gun deck on Friday, various bits and pieces. So it will be super detailing areas as well as a mix of fun builds, as much as, you know, a one day build or, you know, the reviews and everything. So also there's a good mix of everything that was going on. So if you're not too into sitting down and watching me for an hour build a flap, you know, you don't have to, because you can go off and watch something else like this, or you can do a one day build. And as I say, I have got some huge projects coming in. I've got that alien pulse rifle, and if you remember, I've got that one still here, and everything else. I've got huge big plans. We have got the cosplay stuff coming in as well, if it ever gets here, but we've got the Stormtrooper suit coming in, which needs to be built. They're all going to be little things where they're going to be fun and light-hearted as well as quite serious if it's a serious point of it, but that's the idea. Anyway, a couple of things. I've been in search of the best price and performance for general use masking tape. Screwfix has a Eurocell Wishy masking tape for $2.99 a roll. Buy it. It's the best I found in a bargain. I don't know why wishy tape keeps coming up. It's like a big thing. Wishy tape is being used by women around the world for years now. Funny enough, when I bought a load, Mel said to me, because I bought some, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago now, and we had it and we reviewed it. The first thing Mel said, "Oh, did you realise I've got tons of that upstairs? Why have you bought some?" And it's like, why didn't you mention you had some here? But women know all about wishy tape. They've had it for years. But yeah, it is a bargain. The only thing I will say about wishy tape is it is not Tamiya tape, no matter what anybody tells you, because when we did the testing of it and we did the review, as we said, the edge of a Tamiya tape is crystal clear and you can do canopies with it. Wishy tape doesn't do it as well because it's more fibrous. The actual, when you, for instance, if you tear Tamiya tape, it's quite a clean tear. You tear wishy tape, it's very fibrous and you get bits of it all coming off and all the rest of it. So if you're cutting wishy tape for doing various masking jobs, make sure you've got a very sharp blade in it. Okay, so anyway, I'm building a Mad Max inspired 112 Mustang, Ford Mustang, which I want to add multiple bullet holes. Could you suggest a method of recreating bullet holes and painting to get a realistic look? Okay, so a couple of options. Drill it, pretty straightforward. The other thing as well is to heat a needle and poke it straight through the panel. This is where your old airbrush needles come in absolutely fantastic for it, because obviously different calibers. Okay, but if you heat them up, you can actually push them into it and they'll cool, because you don't want them like, you know, red hot, just going to melt straight through. You heat them gently, get them going a bit, you can push them in, and actually as they go in and cool, it'll bend and you'll get that deflection angle going in. To the point where if you're using quite a big one, you can push it through quite firmly, because it's a needle from an airbrush. They tend to be quite strong, so you can actually get them through there to physically bend the surface in. Then you're just doing your standard chipping effect with that one coming around. So you could do your silver as if it's down to metal on the inside, okay, and then obviously you'd have primer normally and then the paint on the outer bit, so just chipping the hole like that. Or, as I say, you can just drill, okay, and push them through. But if you want to get a slight bend into the plastic as well, then a heated needle does a trick. Or you can just do a sewing needle into a clamp handle, and then just poke it in like you would do normally. But, you know, to be honest, I've done it in the old days. You just get in there and poke the hell out of it, okay, and just pressing into it. And you get the slight dent as well, because you need the slight deformity dent. You don't want just a drill hole, okay, but you can get a little bit of a dent. But if you do pull through and tear, you can actually get it to bend out on the inside as well. But it's all a question of playing with it, getting the heating right, knowing when it's perfect temperature for pushing it through. Because if you do it too hot, it just slides straight through and you get like a donut effect around it, okay, and if it's too cold, it won't go through. So it's finding that right thing where it just about pushes through and you can drag it right the way through. Okay, and regarding the heavy metal SIG, would the British UN colours be acceptable? Let me just find out. No, he hasn't got back to me. I have asked Steve this said question. I saw this one come up a couple of hours ago. I don't know. I went off and checked the rules, and it does say down there that in non-British markings, but technically Britain is part of the UN, so the British tank would count because it would still have a British number plate on it if it was in UN markings. So from my point of view, it would count, but I'm not the boss of this. This is down to Steve in theory. I think he's leading this one, so your best bet is to check with him, but I'll have a word with him. I have texted him. Obviously he's head down in some lens in a camera at the moment, but I would think it's okay if it's in UN markings, but I know they do have to be in British markings. It has to be British armour, in British service, anywhere in the world, but it has to be in British markings, so I'm not sure how that will actually work with that one. Okay, so Ian Smith says, afternoon lads, well, morning here in Montreal. Phil, have the roofers finished? No, they're out there now, or hopefully, probably going home in a minute. Fully agree with Steve said on the Saturday show on how modelling changes you once you put the primer on. Sorry, changes once you put the primer on. I've noticed with a lot of resin kits that they change all of a sudden and the detail pops out. Have you ever tried thinning Tamiya X22 with either Tamiya lacquers or the gun self-leveling lacquers? I ask this as I've sprayed the regular Tamiya colours with lacquer thinners and it gives a wonderful finish. I wonder if this would work with the clear and also with the flat. Yeah, absolutely works with all of them. That's what we're talking about on Saturday, is that forget these are as acrylics, because technically they all burst into flames. That's why they've got flammable labels on, because they're actually a synthetic acrylic. They're not a true acrylic. That's why they mix so well with lacquers. Okay, but yeah, you should have no problem with that at all. Let me just refresh the page. It's funny not having my little sidekick here today. Steve, come back. Okay, so that is it in there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop over, if I can ever get this tablet to work. I know, look, see now, yeah, press it. Get off. Touch screen, come on Samsung. Oh, give up. Right, come on. Refresh page. Right. Okay. Let me just bring up a new page. Apologies for my lack of, you know, anything that's halfway decent in this. Okay, where is our little thing now? Right. Press button once. It's no good. We're going to have to buy a new one. Right, okay, I haven't, to be honest, come on, been in here for a while, so I'll just pop in and check. Okay, so if I start at the bottom, I'll work my way back up. Okay, so Johan says, have you used your washes? I've used your washes on some projects and like them very much. I saw you using oil paints on a recent project. So my question is, can you use both on the model, and what would you use first? Okay, so quite an interesting question because it covers quite nicely in here. This is a mixture really of oils or enamel paints and normal clay washes. They do work very well together, but you need to put down the clay wash first. The clay wash is your heavy duty grime, if you like. Okay, when you're coming in then with your enamel washes or your oils, they're going to be a little bit more delicate. Okay, now the great thing is about it is that once the clay wash is dried, you can put enamel straight over them, neat, without sealing them, so you don't have to worry about that at all. And if you rub them with a brush together, they will blend seamlessly together, so then you can do streaking and dragging and everything, which is on here. So if you wait till Wednesday, you'll see it all about that one, but they work well together. And if you wanted to, you could do it in reverse, but I would suggest putting clay wash down before enamels and stuff like that. Keith says, hi, after watching you paint your tracks on your Sherman, you used a metal colour that you said stays even, after you watching your paint the tracks on the Sherman, you used a metal colour that you said stays for even, so forever. Could you tell me what it was? Right, Keith, I'll have to get back onto that because you're talking about something that was over a year ago, so I'll have to go back and check on that one. Okay, so Nigel says, hi Phil, hope you're well. Could you tell me where to buy your clear rods for your displays for mounting your model aircraft, i.e. Typhoons, what size for 138, 148th, what scale, and are there any videos and where you show how to shape them? Thanks in advance, Nigel. Okay, Nigel, go and have a look at the MiG-21 build. I show it because I do it right here in front of the camera, and we bend it all. It's also on the shows and the various things around about that time when we did that one as well. And obviously we did it for the Typhoon. We've done it with the Tomcat now. So we've got 3 acrylically made, and technically, oh actually, yeah, I don't know if it was the MiG. I think it was the MiG. Yeah, we showed it on the MiG, but also we did it for the Thompson's one as well, seeing it's over there on a stand. So we've got 4 done on acrylic rods. Now, I can't tell you the size, purely because there is no real size. It depends on the engine that you're doing. Okay, so what you want to do is measure the diameter of the inside of the exhaust if you're having it go up the exhaust, and that's the diameter you really want. You don't want it too thick and you don't want it too thin. I've seen people when they've had a really thin one coming out the back, and it's like, well, what's that? You know, it just doesn't look right. You want it the same thickness of the exhaust. That way it looks like heat blur coming out the back. So measure the inside diameter, but obviously that's totally different from something like a, you know, a Typhoon or a MiG, and depending on the scale, nozzle size, width, and all the rest of it. So literally just measure the inside of the nozzle or whatever aircraft you're going for, and then work it literally like that, and away you go. As you say, there's no real fixed one. I think it was, I don't know now, I've got a feeling it was like 22mm for the big Tomcat at the top. The one down here I think is 12mm or 10mm, but we've got it in 8. I've got it, the sizes I always keep here are 8, 10, 12, I think I've got then 16 and 20 mil. 20 mil's huge, it's a big pipes, but obviously that's what that one's on. This guy over here, I've got a feeling is 12 mil on the actual Typhoon. So yeah, it's a case of doing it, because sometimes, like when we did the MiG, originally I was saying, yeah, that'll do, and then I looked at it, it just didn't look right. So actually we changed it, went with a smaller rod, because it just looked a little bit too meaty for it. But getting an idea of a look at it and seeing, yeah, okay. But now I would just measure the inside diameter of the exhaust and work from that, because that way you just have that heat look coming out and do it like that. Unless you're doing acrylic rod underneath, and then it's really personal choice. I would probably go for something as thin as you could, but you want it to look strong enough so it doesn't look like it's about to fall off. Place to get them, I can't remember what it is now. It has been asked before, and I have put the links up before. There's somewhere called Acrylic Plastic Center or something online, but eBay, if you look in eBay, you'll see it. It's not cheap. It's one of those things that seems to have gone up in price over the last couple of years. But you know, it's just one of those things where unfortunately you pay for what you get with it. I wouldn't try and use the hollow stuff. That's the trouble. Use the solid stuff, and you'll be absolutely fine with it. Okay, so because we're coming up here backwards. I don't know why somebody's done that. Okay, so Glenn says, I'll do the last one. Hi Phil and team, greetings from Norway. Thanks for your superb site, learning lots of tips and tricks. Been following your Typhoon build and got mine back down off the shelf. I've got to ask if you're planning on doing a video build of the Tamiya 132nd Mosquito. The Tamiya is my favourite model. I've seen it many scales, a long plant term, to display it in the cabinet in 1/72 through to 1/24. It's up there, it's peeking at me longingly. The thing is that everybody did it a couple of months when it first came out. The World and His Wife, all the magazines were on it and all the books, and it was all over the net, and you sort of lose your thing because you're just going to be a number of one in there. So I'll probably going to give it a bit longer, and then I'll probably tackle it, because I do love it. It's a fantastic aircraft, it's beautiful, it's just a bit big. Yeah, I don't know, I can't say that because I've got some projects I'd love to do that are big as well. But generally, it is going to be one of the kits we will be tackling. But as time goes on as well, the great thing about it is the aftermarket stuff comes out. So you get some great aftermarket for it, all the resin stuff, all the after bits and pieces, all the nice goodies. They're all basically out for it now, where if we'd done it in the first place, nothing was really around at that point. But there is some very nice bits for that one, and obviously markings as well. So it'll be interesting to see if they bring out the bomber version of that shirt soon as well, because we're sort of waiting on for that one. Right, okay, last one, honestly. Okay, Phil, where did you get the resin engine for the 109? The 109 engines, which are here. I haven't even reviewed them yet. I need to get these sorted out and reviewed. These both engines. Okay, I know the other versions of this coming out as well. This is for the G6, 109 G6. I know the engine for the G5 is coming out as well. Okay, so that is one coming out. Has this got the gun as well? And it is the guns. So yeah, that's the entire front end of that one, which is quite a nice one. As I say, I have a plan for it. That's all I'm going to say. I have a plan. That's why I've got the G5 one coming as well, because I've got the G5 cockpit there, the G5 engine and gun decks coming in as well. And obviously, I might know I've got a G5 kit. Saying that, I've got the G6 over there as well now, so I've got all bases covered. But I do fancy doing a 1/48 scale one with all the niceties in there. It's got me going after doing the 190. Right, that is about it for today. So thank you for joining me. To say, tomorrow Osprey will be up with you in the next part, talking all about the weathering. So if you're into that, grab that one. Thursday, I am not here. There's not going to be anything on the site at all, because honestly, I've got to take the day off because we're off to see actually a member. So we're off to see Matt and Leslie. Okay, they are down in Weymouth, which is a good 2-hour drive from here, but we thought we'd go and see them. So good friends of ours. So we're going to be spending the day with them. No, we're not. Sorry, that's the wrong one. Sorry, we're off to see family in Weymouth on Wednesday, Matt and Leslie on Saturday. So busy week this week, normally don't have all these things. But I will be putting up with you on Friday. I might try and do 2. So I have got some down there, and I have got actually the Vickers Super VC10. Which Ron lent me the other week, which I must get around to doing because he's going to want his kit back. So I'll get that one done. And as I say, I've either got the SU9, we've got the G5 109, some great markings on that. We also got the Mobius new Batmobile as well from the Batmobile program, and I've got some other bits and pieces coming in which are due in between now and Friday as well. So lots of things going on. So that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all very, very soon.